Hello. Um, I'm not going to say my name. Um, and to be honest, I created this podcast more for me than anyone else um, because I am afraid of forgetting everything that I did in my life, the things that I remember, that they are gone when I'm older. Um, so I want to report because maybe my life is not the most interesting life ever done or ever lived, but I've been to many places. I've seen many things, and sometimes it's good to remember those. Not because they were good or bad; they were always a mixture of both. Um, but with time, we tend to forget and sometimes romanticize even the bad things. So, but just about myself, I'm in my early 40s. I just entered the 40s not so long ago. Um, I have double nationality. Um, I'm both Portuguese and German. I lived in 7 different countries, um, mostly in Europe, but also in the US and California. Um, so probably that's why you see that my English accent is more American than anything else. Um, and my profession is fraud investigator. Um, I work for a multinational company that does business in almost every country in the world. And one of the functions that I have is to understand if we are doing clean business in specific countries. So, how I wanted to make this is go through the list of all the countries that I've been to, and I've been to around 110, 120. I don't know exactly anymore. And go through the list one by one alphabetically, and then I'll tell you what I did there, if I liked it or not, and how many times, etc. So we'll start on the list. Unfortunately, and this is alphabetically, unfortunately, I haven't been to Afghanistan ever. So we'll have to go down to number two, and that's Albania. So in Albania, and I for this I have to go to my map. So this is a tool, Flight Radar, that you can check, and we can put basically all the flights that I did in my life, or not in my life, but since I think 2015 or so, um, and or 2013, and then I add here all the trips that I've done, and it's interesting because it then gives you a bit of uh, a story of how many flights you did, how many hours. So 766 flights. Um, Tells you also in what class you've flown the most, the reason. I'm not sure what the other here is, to be honest. It's probably a mistake. The continents. And then you can go to countries, the top routes, airlines that you flew to the most, and airports, as well as the years, the days of the week. I mean, it gives you a lot of interesting information. I mean, of course, with the time, um, I became, and with so many flights, there were years like this one that I did 115 flights, 101 flights. So these were the peak years prior to COVID. Here 40, 41, 2024, 59, 50. And this year that we are, well, 5 months on, I'm in 20 flights at the moment. Of course, these include, like you said, like you see here, both personal as well as for business reasons. And some of the countries that I've been to were also for leisure. So, as we said, Albania, I've been there twice. I needed to go to the map to understand when. So basically, the first time was in 2016. I was there for only 2 days or 2 nights, from the 16th of October 2016 to the 18th. So I flew in and out of there from Ljubljana, so Slovenia, to Tirana, and Tirana to Slovenian back. And then the second time was in 2020, so during the pandemic. And this was Frankfurt, Tirana. Then Tirana, I went to Belgrade here. Um, and here I stayed for a much longer period of time, so 5 nights. So, a bit about Albania first. Something from my childhood. I had a bit of a fascination for Eastern Europe and for the fall of communism and all this symbol or symbolism. And Albania always sounded like a strange place, a weird place, especially in Europe. Um, Stuff that you could read and get from documentaries, from newspapers, still in this 10 years, 15 years ago, or 10, 12 years ago, was, I would say, still a relatively closed country. It was for sure not as during Enver Hoxha's time, so during the communist period, but it was still a very poor country and a strange country. So the first time going there, only for 2 nights, I was both, I remember this, I was both excited, but also a bit scared. Here we're talking about a period, the first one in 2016. Is it 16? I have to go back again. Yeah, 2016. So 10 years ago. We're talking about a time when there was no Ubers, there was nothing like that. Also, cell phone communications and cameras were not yet the best. So I'm afraid I have very little or have no photos from that time. And I was probably, not probably, but I was definitely working on something of importance. Um, but I can tell you that I rented a car at that time. Um, no, sorry, that was the second time. No, no. And see, this is my mind goes into this spiral that I don't know anymore. Um, I'm just trying to remember. No, no, the first time. Yeah, exactly. So I rented the car during the first time there, and I do recall that traffic was chaotic, especially in the main square, which in my second trip and nowadays looks much better than what it is. They gave me first in the airport. They didn't have like these new cars like you see in Europe or in the US. So I probably rented with Europe car or with Sixt or something, and they gave me this old black. I think it was a Mercedes, but it was good 10, 15 years old, black. So the car was big, but the piece of crap. Um, and it just had a hard time traveling or doing the way from the airport there to the square. And then I had reserved the Sheraton there, Sheraton Hotel in Tirana. So the Sheraton Hotel, which looked like this at the time, um, it was quite a peculiar hotel because it was luxury. And actually, one of the hotel staff, the manager, he was Portuguese for some reason, and he was living there. And this was also some conversation that I remember having on the entrance of the hotel. Um, but like I said, we were there. I was there just 2 days. I remember I was alone, doing this review and this compliance review, which nothing came out of there. Nothing strange. So the ones that are strange, I will tell you some interesting and funny stories. Um, And on the left side of the hotel here, this part, there was a small shopping mall with a cinema. And I went there to watch a movie that I remember on the end of the second day. I had done my work, and they had like some kind of a pizza place, but I don't recall anymore what movie I went to see or anything like that. But I remember that there was this place there. Um, what was also interesting is that in front of this hotel there was, or not in front, but this was in a, not the shady area. It was really central, but quite near it, it was a lot of abandoned buildings, and there was a football stadium, one of these old ones that you see in the communist movie. So very, I don't remember anymore. I don't know if it was Dinamo Tirana or something else, but it was a football stadium, and I just thought the whole thing was run down. Um, I just went out of the hotel probably because I didn't feel completely safe. Um, and this was also still during the start of my heavy years of traveling and of gaining experience. I remember going once on the streets nearby to get something to eat, but mostly it was in and out of uh, the comp or the work that I was doing and into the hotel. Um, More than that, what I remember seeing was a building that looked exactly what you expect stuff, architecture from the 70s to 80s in these Eastern European countries to look like. It was like a pyramid made of glass. It was a strangely shaped pyramid. That I remember particularly well as this square that was full of traffic. Um, so these are the two things that I remember quite well. Anyway, what happened was that this hotel now anymore doesn't exist anymore. At least it's not a Sheraton hotel anymore. And the question about Sheratons and Merits and all these chains, I will go into that in probably another different video. But this one nowadays is called something else. Here's another picture of it while it was still Sheraton. Now it's called Mac Hotel Tirana. Don't know why it lost the name or why Sheraton. Um, well, this is are normally franchises, but I'm not sure what happened there. And I only noticed the second time that I went there in 2020, and I wanted to book again at the Sheraton, and there was no Sheraton to book. But that will go into that a bit later. So nowadays, this whole area looks completely different according to Google. Um, Even this stuff here. I mean, I think this was the stadium back then. This whole place, and I mean, it still looks dodgy. I get it. It still looks dirty and all, but it looks much, much, much better than it did back in 2015. And you see, this area has a lot of new construction. This building is new, and they are building a lot of stuff around here. This was also, when was this? December 2023. So there's a Christmas Christmas tree here. Yeah. So, like I said, was afraid. Only remember the pyramid, and there's. It's one of the things that I hate the most is that I didn't take enough photos in my early days visiting certain countries, and some of them I don't even have registered anymore from anything because I didn't take a single picture. So I only have the register of the trip, some emails. That's it. Anyway, so since on the second time, 2020, I was much more experienced and much more, I would say, adventurous. I had gone through some topics. I was not really afraid anymore of anything in Eastern Europe at all, or even afraid to be in countries like that. I was not afraid to be in any country, or almost any country, but Eastern Europe was nothing. anymore. I mean, in terms of being afraid or anything. So as I mentioned, we for this visit, which was a bit longer, but it also there was a funny story behind it. So it was during COVID, and of course, our or my work relies a lot on traveling because fraud investigations. Of course, you can do a lot of stuff online and review documents, etc. But to have interviews and see real physical documents, you need to be on site and touch it. So it's there's at least a portion that should be done in person. And one of the things in analyzing the documentation, uh, we I was going there, but then due to COVID restrictions, there was 1 week that we could not travel, and so I had to postpone for a month or so. And the person there in Albania, uh, or the company that we were visiting, or I was visiting, this also went alone again. Um, they said that they would send me the documents per DHL, and I mean, normally these are many documents. We're talking about maybe boxes full of registers and transactions, etc. And this guy really stuck everything in two big boxes, and he sent it to my home place in Germany. And I got them on the mail, and these were maybe 6, 8 kilos heavy of documents that I could just read through at home. And when I went there, I was a bit more um, aware of exactly what I was looking for and how this would go. So that was kind of a strange, and this is basically a COVID related story, not so much about Albania. But anyway, we ended up coming to the dates, and again, this was 2020, late 2020, as we saw. And since I wanted to see a bit of more of Tirana, I told the guy that I wanted that I told the guy no, I had other visits afterwards that I was making together. I think at the time to North Macedonia, to Skopje, but I decided to stay the weekend also in Albania, so I have quite a few a few photos from there. Basically, Albania. The airport, there's very few flights and all that, and I'm also kind of sad that the only thing that I really seen is Tirana. There are supposed to be beautiful beaches. I know there are beautiful beaches, especially the southerner. You go closer to Corfu. The water here is spectacular. I've been many times to this part of Italy here, where there are also ferries into Albania and into Montenegro. But the whole region is, of course, complicated in terms of compliance and all these topics, especially the countries here. I mean, Kosovo here, um, North Macedonia, also Greece is not the easiest one. And then you have here, of course, Montenegro, which is, well, also a weird place. And then you have Italy here on the side. Um, Things are relatively close, but the connections, especially flight connections and even roads, sometimes are extremely poor. And sometimes to go from Tirana to Skopje, which by car, if you had a proper highway, would be, I don't know, maybe 300 kilometers or something. So a couple of hours, 3 hours. It it normally, if you want to go there and if you are in one place or the other, you need to either fly to Vienna and back, or to Belgrade and back, or to Athens and back. Probably not to Skopje, but so that's the reality of this area. Anyway, so there was no a Sheraton hotel, so I booked this one, the Maritime Hotel Plaza Tirana. Also a brand new building. Um, it's this one here. So quite a luxurious hotel, I would say. And the first thing that you see, I also rented a car. The roads were much better at this time. And one of the things that you saw initially was that, yeah, this is a shopping mall right in front of the hotel. So quite a difference. This is all brand new. This whole place here used to be completely different 5 years before I went on this trip. Um, what I wanted to show you is a bit of the pictures, and the first one, and I'll make this a bit bigger. The first one is quite. It's a weird picture, I know, but if you remember, I went here during COVID, and I took the car. I probably arrived around lunchtime, so I took the car out from the airport. This time they didn't give me any of these shitty cars from 20 years ago. They already had. I'm not sure if brand new cars, but they did have something more in line with you would call European Union standards of rent a car. But then I decided to stop halfway between the airport and the city because I wanted to eat something. So I saw this mall, and I said, well, let me just stop and eat here. And because it was COVID, people were wearing masks and all that. And the rule here in Albania probably was that in closed spaces you needed to wear a mask. So there was this was in the left side here was the end or the exit, or you park your car here and then you enter the shopping mall here. And before you could get in, there was this lady that was supposed to give you a mask and or check that you had masks on. So this lady, I took the picture here. She used a mask on her chin. All the dudes here used their masks on their chin, and no one. I mean, this was all only for show. So there you have like also something very typical from this place is a metal detector. If you've never been to Eastern Europe, that's or to the ex-Soviet republics and some other places, that's quite common. Um, so this I have no idea why I took this photo, but yeah. And this is the central square. It's the Skanderbeg Square, I think. So as you see, it was also Christmas. There's a lot of people with masks. I was also wearing masks, and there's also photos of me, or at least selfies here, but I will not show those. And this shop, this thing here, this museum, it's it's still not, or it was at least in 2020, not in line with the times that we are living yet. It's very beautiful from the outside. I love these murals from the Eastern European or the communism times, but that was it. And you'll see some of the stuff inside. Here, it's basically an angle of the square, but to the other side, and you have there Skanderbeg, which is a hero from from Albania. And there's a lot of stuff that have his name, um, including the currency. There's a, well, I'm not sure anymore about, yeah, the actual one, the 5,000 lek also has him, or the it's the 5,000, I think, has him on the banknotes. And also in the past there were quite a few ones. He's also a hero in other parts like Kosovo, for example. And so here, and in the back, I think there was a church that was also a bit under construction at the time. So here a bit of a closer image from the museum. I mean, the facade is beautiful. So this architecture, and then this was. I need to check exact. Oh yes, so this is a few bunkers. So there's. It's a known fact that Evrasha, the former dictator and longtime president of Albania, or the communist Albania, was a bit of. I think it's only natural, or it happened in a lot of cases, that after being 20, 30 years in power, people start to get paranoid. And this guy was really paranoid. He was first aligned mostly with the Soviet Union, but then with the fall of, or with Khrushchev, I think, and please don't quote me of everything like that. I'm just doing this by as far as I remember. After Khrushchev, he disaligned with the Soviet Union and started aligning more with the with Tito and Yugoslavia in a more of a non-interventional way. So the third world order. And then even after that, he got pissed with Tito, so he got closer to China, to Mao, um, to the type of communism that is Maoism. And then in the end, even after that, they were like happily alone, as the only communists, or the only real communists. And if Russia was afraid that the Soviet Union or Yugoslavia would ultimately invade the country, so he built thousands of kilometers of tunnels and bunkers, in case that happened, and then no Albanian will be there, or all the Albanians will be like underground and fighting in the ground, and yeah. So in the center of Tirana, there are a few of these bunkers that you can visit, and this was one of them. Of course, they have now. They talk about life under communism and a bit of political dissidence and all that stuff. It's interesting. You can see here how good I do my photographs. Um, so here you see objects of everyday life where bugs were camouflaged. I mean, kind of like a spy thing. Um, find the bugs. I'm not really sure anymore. But here you probably had like they gave you some kind of an instrument and you would find where the bugs are. Here it's probably where the guys from the secret police were sitting. Yeah, a very cheerful cabinet. Um, Another cheerful cabinet underground, probably this one for the Politburo from the time, and then there was some video here. Um, right across there was this new church. So this is all very 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 central, and yeah, so the church looks weird in the format. That's why I took these pictures. And then in front of this church, there's the House of Leaves, which was the place where the security police would take the dissidents, and well, a lot of them died, were tortured, etc. And this is really an interesting museum to see, and this didn't exist in 2015. A bit too many photos of this. Um, and then here is the pyramid that I spoke about in the first in the first time that I was there, that I saw. And nowadays, or at least at that time, they wanted to transform it into something different, into this crap here. um I'm completely against the abolishment of symbols. um Communism was bad, but there are also no reason to destroy everything that was in it. Then there was this big mosque, and this was financed by. It was brand new, and it was being financed either by Bahrain or by Kuwait or some of these Gulf states. So quite a big church then in the middle. And here are some photos of the House of Leaves inside. There's my finger. Amazing, eh? And here again some photos of the museum in the main square. And this is inside. So Skanderbeu, Tirana 100, another view from the square. It was nice to walk around, but also the fact that it was raining didn't help out so much. But more views from the same. And here it's in front of the hotel. You've probably seen that this place here had this where the people can cross the street instead of a zebra. They have this installation here, which was quite peculiar. And yeah, no, this this is not, um, or is it? I don't remember. I mean, let me just check here. I don't know if this is me just tanking. Yeah, this is just me tanking the car and going to the airport. And this is one of the, it was a huge building. I think this was built by the Chinese and had completely nothing to do with the rest of the country. It was quite one of these things that you see in these places. So yeah, basically that was my two trips to Albania. Nothing, no real funny stories here, in the sense of the compliance part of it. There will be some countries with that, and I think for the next country we would go into. Where are we going into? Next country we'll go into. Well, I've never been to Algeria, so it was going to be Andorra, but this is going to be a 3 minute video. So probably Andorra and Angola. So those will be a bit different, and I have some stories, especially in Angola. Well, thank you very much for watching, and it was great doing this. Bye bye.